Coming up on our Finding Better podcast, episode 170, Christian de la Huerta is joining me, and we're going to talk about self-doubt, self-hate, how we got to the point of having all this stuff rattling around in our heads, and how we're going to rise out of it. It is so important to finding better. And, we live in a society where it just seems like we're never good enough. We're always trying to live based on other people's expectations. And Christian is going to take us through his journey, not only of self-hate, but of self-loathing and what he did to rise out of it and how he's helping other people and how now he's living a life that he loves. Really relevant. Please share this. Thank you for joining us. Here we go. Hello, and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences of people who have been there and done that in terms of blazing the path that you may be thinking about blazing, because, sometimes the best path to success is by following in the footsteps of others and their own experiences. My guest today is Christian de la Huerta. And we're going to talk about his story. This is a story of self-doubt and self-hatred and kind of transforming his life into self-confidence and self-love. And you may be in that space where, you're doubting yourself all the time. Maybe you don't like yourself very much. Maybe you know somebody who's in that space because, this podcast is about finding better, right? And this is such a huge part of it. I'm so happy Christian has joined me today, and I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. Christian, welcome to Finding Better.
Hey, John, I'm so happy to be here with you. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, I have a feeling, or my feeling is that you help a lot of people. And I want to just give everybody a little bit of an intro for you, because I talked about the self-doubt journey and the self-hatred journey to self-confidence, self-love. Folks, here's the thing. From those humble beginnings, Christian is now a spiritual teacher. He is a transformational personal coach, and he's an award-winning author with 30 years of helping people just like you and me. And he's a TEDx speaker, and he's written 3 books. The first book is called, let me get this right, Coming Out Spiritually. So this is a little bit of a spiritual conversation. And I'll tell you that I don't know if you feel it, but I feel like there's this renaissance of spirituality happening right now, which is a really good thing. His second book was called Awakening the Soul of Power. And his third book is called Conscious Love. And we're going to talk about conscious love, transforming our relationship to relationships. And so, yeah, did I get that right, Christian?
You did great. Perfectly.
Okay.
Perfectly.
Well, it's really, let's talk a little bit about your journey because I find myself in self-doubt all the time. I've kind of gotten myself out of the self-hatred part. But talk about your journey on where you've been, where you went, and how you got to where you are right now, because you seem like a person that's got it together pretty much.
Yeah, I know self-doubt intimately. I know self-hatred. If I look back at my adolescence, it was one long depression with suicidal fantasies as I struggled trying to find a place for myself in a culture and a religion, the religion in which I was raised, which, as a gay man, told me that I was going to burn in hell for eternity.
Oh boy.
Uh, yeah, it was not a fun adolescence. But the value of it is that it forced me to really ask the hard questions about who am I and what are we doing here, and find a way to navigate morality for myself. Decide what's right and what's wrong for myself. If I wasn't going to go by teachings and writings that were written thousands of years ago and mistranslated and retranslated and taken out
Right.
of their cultural and historical context, then how do we navigate um, what's right and what's wrong? And I got to tell you, like flash forward to today, like no matter what happens in my life, no matter the details, the circumstances, whether a relationship works out or it doesn't, whether a project succeeds or it fails, in quotes, never, John, never do I question my self-worth. So I know that if that can be healed in me, it can be healed in anybody.
And let's just talk about that for a minute because it wasn't until pretty recently that being gay was a came with a lot of stigma,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of stigma.
Yeah.
And I feel like as you were growing, you grew up in a time when it was really, really, really tough to
Oh
be
my
a
God.
gay
Yeah.
person, right?
When it was secret, when it was still considered an illness by the DSM-3, by the book, the psychiatry book that decides well the different codes for illnesses for insurance purposes.
Right. And
Hmm.
and you grew up in a place where you were told you were going to burn in hell because of the person that you were. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that, does it?
I I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it does. There's still a few
Sure.
places in the world where you
Yeah.
can get killed,
Yeah.
literally for being gay, and where people do still
Right.
get killed for being gay. So that would be worse.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And so this is a world that you grew up in. And it's tough. In the world that we live in today, it's hard for a lot of different reasons. For me, part of the reason why I started this podcast was to provide kind of a safe place where people can come to learn real information from real people. And I call, I in a lot of ways our environment is pretty toxic. I mean, we're bombarded with what I call messages of inadequacy, right? Whether it be on social media, whether it be in our advertising, whether it be whatever, right?
yeah.
We're just not good enough.
Yeah, and
And
we're compared to these impossible standards of beauty,
right,
that have all been airbrushed, and models that are starving themselves to death, and yet
right.
that's what we're told we should look like and be like.
Yeah. And if we're not, we're losers,
Right,
right? And so I feel like as we talk about self-doubt and I talk about self-hatred, I mean, it's not like our environment is saying, no, 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 no. You are an amazing person. I mean, our
right.
environment is just hammering us with confirmation that we're not good enough all the
Yeah,
time, right?
yeah.
And so what tell us about your journey. I mean, so you grew up in this environment and where I mean, my goodness. I mean, you were hammered with confirmations of being a bad person. And
Mhm.
right? And how do you get out of that?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, I threw the baby out with the baptismal water. For me, it was a survival choice.
Right.
And so I had to let go of that religion in which I was raised, which was Catholicism.
Hmm.
Um, and then in my 20s, that was in my probably my late tweens. In my 20s, I basically ignored my spiritual development. I was more focused professionally in a series of relationships. But as I started to approach 30, the dreaded 30, and I started to wonder, it's like, oh, there's got to be more to life than this. And I had a pretty nice, enviable life, cushy job, and got to make my own schedule. I wined and dined referral sources for a psychiatric and addictions hospital. Um,
What was that last part?
I wined and dined, and I was like in community relations for a psychiatric and addictions hospital.
Oh, got it, got it, got
So
it.
I
Okay.
wined and dined therapist, or work with the school system and the police, because there was an adolescent unit. So I kind of developed and helped nurture
Got it.
referral sources for the hospital. And yet, it seemed like the more that I had, the more that I was sought after socially or professionally. It's like there was an expanding hole in my gut that said, "Oh, there's got to be more." And to me, that's because I hadn't been connecting with my purpose, with my real purpose.
Right.
And so I went through, as I was approaching 30, I went through a weekend. I just dedicated it to living in that question. What do I really want from life? And it came down to three things. I forget what they were, but part of it was that I wanted to discover and really explore my purpose. Like, what was I really doing here? And never look back. Like I've been, that's when I started working with people as in coaching, doing retreats, doing workshops, and never
Helping
worked for.
people.
Yeah,
Helping people. You know,
yeah,
it's funny. It's funny. With as many people as I've spoken to and as many people as I've had as guests on my podcast here at Finding Better, it's really interesting how you come to a point in life, whether it be your midlife crisis or whatever, and maybe this is a midlife crisis. Maybe that was your midlife crisis,
yeah.
right?
I
Where you
think
sit
so. I
down
think
and you
it was.
go, "What the hell am I doing?" Right? And
Yeah,
it's that point seems to come to everybody. Everybody seems to experience this. And it's that point of going from what am I doing here and just kind of being lost in a world of circumstances, right? I mean, you just kind of go with the flow of your environment to wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think there's more to why I'm supposed to be, why I'm here than just responding to the circumstances around me that are happening to me. And and it's really cool. It's really cool that I mean, universally, everybody who has gone through it and said exactly what you did. What is my purpose?
I think it's an imperative. The only other
Yeah.
option that I see is, which I see some people do, is self-medicate, right? So that we don't have to think about
Yeah.
the deeper questions, the existential questions. And so you see people
Ooh.
medicating with substances, with food, with even stuff like over exercising
Right.
or workaholism.
Yeah.
They're all
Addiction.
anything to
Addiction.
avoid
Yeah.
thinking.
Oh, isn't that? I'm gonna quote you on that. That is, you're right. You're right,
Yeah,
right? I mean, you find ways to overcompensate,
yeah,
in different directions. I believe I have a belief that we're all here for at least one reason, and that is to make the world better than the day we landed on it. And I've chosen to do that by helping people one person at a time, because I think that uh, when you help a person, you do lift the world, right? And
absolutely.
you've chosen a similar path to do that with the work that you've done. So, where you were before you hit this point of realization, you were helping people, right? I mean, you were helping I mean, you were helping people.
Yeah, I was helping people find help.
You were helping
Um,
people find help. Yes.
but it was indirect, and then I kind of lost heart when I realized how bottom line oriented these hospitals and the companies that own the hospitals, that I started to see stuff that just, like for example, people put inpatient where they could have tried outpatient first, but as long as they had benefits, well, let's utilize those benefits.
Right.
So I started seeing things that just didn't sit well.
Yeah. And I think there is I share this in agreement with you, but also so that my audience can kind of relate to this. I've been in technology for 40 years,
Hmm.
and helped shepherd in five or six generations of new technology, from the PC to the internet to social media
Wow.
to mobile computing, right? All that stuff. And I
Impressive.
found and I've realized that oh, that's not the reason why I told you that, but the reason, and it's not. It sounds a lot better than it really is. But we've gotten smarter and smarter and smarter with the rise of technology. And I recently coined a phrase that says, "We've gotten so smart, we've forgotten our heart."
Hmm.
And I think that there's a renaissance of heart coming. And ironically, I think artificial intelligence is going to force it. And
Hmm.
so So
Wait, explain it to me. How do you see artificial intelligence helping the opening of the heart collectively?
okay, so um, artificial intelligence is by definition artificial intelligence, right? And you can see it today. You can see it today where jobs of the brain, right, of knowledge, are starting to become are starting to get replaced by artificial intelligence, right? So
Hmm.
basically, we're coming into a world where anything you can come up with in your brain, computers
Yeah.
will be able to do better, faster, cheaper, and much more productively. You see it in technology, where kids who started in science and data sciences or data or computer sciences are now graduating, having a really hard time finding a job.
Right.
4 years ago, when they started, that was the thing. It was sciences, it was STEM, sciences, technologies, engineering, and mathematics. Just in a 4 year span, that world has completely pivoted. And where these kids were before graduating and getting into six-figure jobs right out of school, a lot of them can't find jobs anymore because of artificial intelligence now being able to do those junior level tasks, right?
Yeah, that
As
makes
time,
sense. What I'm not getting yet is
as time
the
goes
next step
on,
is like
as
that
time
that they're
goes on,
turning inward.
right? As time goes on, what's going to be left? And this is a little bit controversial, right? If artificial intelligence and robots are going to be able to do just about everything a human can do, including plumbing,
Hmm.
what's going to be left? What's going to be left is, and the thing that artificial intelligence will never be able to replace is our humanity, is
True.
human to human connection, is heart, is creativity, is empathy, right? And that's why I say that technology, ironically, where it has made us really smart, is going to create a renaissance of the heart. And one of the things that I'm doing is, you know, uh, if you talk to these visionaries about artificial intelligence, you take a look at the world where we are today, where the growth of artificial intelligence of ChatGPT, oh my God, it's grown faster than and broader than anything in history. And then you look at the world 10 years from now, where things are going to be, where it's basically, arguably, but not very arguably, going to take over the world and take over what we do today.
Hmm.
That world, should we survive it, is going to be amazing. It's just going to be amazing. It's going to be a world where all the work is being done by robots. Um, so who knows what that world's going to look like, but it could be incredible. The question is,
Yeah.
what happens during this messy middle from now to then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And my hypothesis is that it's going to be people like you who are going to help people make it through that transition. I mean, it's going to. I don't know what is bigger than a revolution, but it's going to be bigger than that because it's going to happen so fast. People are going to be so lost, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of people looking for you. And that's
Yeah.
why I'm so happy to be able to offer this platform um, to introduce my audience to you
That's
because
wonderful.
there's
What a
going to be
beautiful way to look at it, and such a generous choice to make as a result of that.
yeah, it's we got to leave behind something,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so if we can help people and I can help you help people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So much the better. But
And
so
I
so
do think of it, John, like you. I do think of it as a revolution. I think of it as a spiritual revolution and a leap in consciousness, like something that's going to shift the way we see ourselves, which means it's going to shift the way we see each other and shifts the way we see everything. But it all
yes.
begins with the way we see ourselves and
It
who we are.
does. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Because when you talk about your journey from self-doubt and self-hatred, to self-confidence and self-love, I mean that is a life, that is not only a life transition, that is a spiritual one,
Yeah,
right? When you can
absolutely.
when you can go from that to where you found yourself now, and you're sharing it.
Absolutely.
You're
Yeah.
sharing it with people. And I love that.
Yeah. And kind of walking them by the hand, because I know that if it can happen in me, it can happen in anybody. So I know how I did it. And so that's what I share in my books and my retreats, especially. Um, the retreats are
Okay.
particularly powerful because they
I'll
combine not
bet.
only the teachings, the cognitive understanding, but then I bring in the tool of breath work, which is the most effective healing tool that I've come across in over 30 years. I've yet to come across anything that heals as quickly, as profoundly, and in so many levels.
Really?
Yeah,
Breath work.
breath work,
Can you can
it's a large umbrella term, right? Anybody who's ever
yeah,
been to yoga class or who's done square breathing, the box breathing,
right.
has done breath work. But this is a particular type of breath work. It's much longer. You do it for about an hour. You're breathing is in a
Oh,
connected circular way for about an hour and a half, and just amazing stuff happens. Like I
really?
say, like the trauma that I've seen witnessed just from breathing, it's is mind-boggling. Like it still boggles my mind that just from breathing, all that stuff can happen. People recover memories, people heal those memories and in reliving them and seeing it from a different perspective. Stuff that often we've been suppressed and have been trying to run away from and self-medicating in all those ways that we were talking about earlier. But this kind of stuff you can't sweep under the rug. It's only going to fester
Right,
and get worse
right,
under the
right,
surface. The
right,
only way through is the only way out is through, like facing it and
right.
then healing it. And it's that, to me, the most effective combination is either whether we're coaching or retreats where you get the understanding of why we do the things we do. We understand the patterns and how they got there. But the real healing happens when with the breath work. And that's where we're like, because the thing is, a lot of that trauma no longer lives in the mind. It's been somaticized. It lives in the body now. So no amount of talking about it is going to really clear it ultimately. And understanding certainly beats not understanding. Um, but it falls short. It's not enough. The breath work comes in and it bypasses the mind and goes to the core of that trauma where it now lives in the body and clears it permanently.
As you were talking, I was thinking about one of the things that I've learned, and that is we all have three intelligences. The mind is only one of them, but also have the heart has its own
Yes.
intelligence, and the gut has its own intelligence. And if you don't believe
Yes.
it, you know, how often have you had the feeling that you just feel it's right in your heart? You feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it.
Yeah.
Or you say to yourself, boy, my gut's telling me not to do this. Or
Yeah.
my gut's telling me it's the right thing to do. That is so when you say that, it goes from your mind, from your
Yeah.
brain into your body.
Yeah.
Um,
And when do we get into trouble? When we override that gut feeling.
right,
That's that's where we
right.
mess up. And this isn't just woo woo psychological stuff. This is actually proven that the the energy field emitted by the heart, by the organ, is 10 times as powerful and large as that emitted by the brain. So who really is the boss of us? And they've done studies where the heart has prescience, it has premonitions. Like they'll do put somebody in front of a computer screen and they're flashing just random images: a beautiful rose, a sunrise, the ocean, a baby, and then a dismembered corpse or a snake with venom dropping down the fangs. And the heart, like they're measuring the heart and the brain. The heart has a response before the brain does,
Oh my
before
gosh.
actually seeing the image.
That is that says it all.
Yeah,
That says it
yeah,
all right there, right?
Yeah.
because just as you were talking about a baby and a sunset and a rose and a flower, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, especially because I got three grandkids and
Exactly.
the baby part. And then you said dismember a corpse, and I went, "Oh God!" Right?
Right.
And
Right.
it was a visceral feeling.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
you
is.
could just feel it, right?
Yeah.
What a great example.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So the heart has its own intelligence for sure.
there's no question about that. There's actually an institute either in I think it's in Santa Cruz,
Yeah. The heart
California.
math. That's where I got those studies from.
That's it.
The
That's
Heart
it.
Math Institute. Yeah.
And and yeah, that's just crazy. Okay, so let's talk about um your a little bit about your journey and how do people with self-doubt and obviously we're not going to go over this and go over everything in the next 15 minutes, but just from the standpoint of what you teach, and are there things that folks can get out of this conversation that they can work on themselves, and if they want more information, they can come to you.
Yeah. The first thing is going within. There is no way around that. Like if you wanna change in your life, you gotta understand, what
Yeah.
your patterns are, why you do the things you do. So being willing to look inside and to face the hard questions, to face our inner demons. Yeah, it's scary, but you know what's scarier? That another 5, 10, 20 years will go by and we're still stuck in patterns that are self-defeating, that are sabotaging the kind of lives and relationships that we long to have. So it's hard work in the beginning, but it's infinitely worthwhile. So begin to notice your patterns, right? When do you like, could be things like, when do you get triggered, with this person or that person? Is it certain types of behaviors that trigger us? And why? Right? Because maybe you and I have a mutual friend and they're always late and it really triggers me and I get really pissed off, but it doesn't bother you. So why is that, right? Why does it bug me when somebody's late? So to asking those deeper questions. What's underneath that, right? What's underneath the anger when somebody shows up late? What am I really feeling underneath that? Am I feeling not valued, disrespected, dishonored, right? Then we can have deeper conversations about that because those feelings are way older than our mutual friends showing up late for lunch.
No kidding.
Yeah. So we gotta, but so it's work, but it's worthwhile work because at the bottom of all those beliefs that we begin to unearth, like we're not, these, they're all misunderstandings, right? None of it is true. They're all misunderstandings, miscommunications, things we misheard when we were kids, things that somebody said in a moment of overwhelm and we took on as truth. Like, like we're not good enough, we're too much of
Yes.
this, not enough of that.
You'll never
None of it
amount to
real.
anything.
None of it real. Right. You're
Yeah.
never going to amount to anything.
It's never is none of it's real, but that shit sticks.
It sticks.
It
That shit
really
sticks in our minds.
sticks. And even with my own kids, I like to think I was a pretty good dad, right? But there were moments that you get frustrated and you just say things that
Yeah.
you never mean. I mean, oh my gosh. And I mean, God only knows what is stuck in my son and my daughter's head, right? And I've got a
Yeah.
lot of things stuck in my head that my dad, that might, and friends, and all just it's just crazy. But our minds are sponges, right?
Absolutely.
And
But
we don't know,
the way that's
90 to
different about the way you
95%.
and I are talking about is like we can fix it, right? We can correct it.
We can fix it.
Like it's not too late. And
And
we can react in the moment and then clean it up. Like as soon as the adrenaline dissipates, you know what? I'm really sorry about what I said. That's not what I meant to say. This is how I wish I would have said it. Right? In a way that's not about accusing or pointing the finger or making the other person wrong or less than, just reporting more our experience. Like a great formula in this type of communication is when you do this or when you did that, I felt, right? Like owning that it was our feelings.
oh, okay. Yeah, that takes a lot of work.
It
But
takes a lot of work.
at the same time, it doesn't, guys, folks, it doesn't have to happen overnight. Just keep
No, it's a
chipping
journey.
away at it. Just keep chipping away at it. With what Christian just said, just be aware of it. That awareness part of it, and just being aware of what's triggering you, and make that a habit. Build that as a muscle, right? That you're constantly asking that. Because I'll tell you something, you know, it could come down to one thing. Like my dad telling me, my dad once told me, I grew up when I was a kid. I tried to be nice to everybody, right? Even as far back as I can remember. I mean, why not? What's the alternative, right?
Right.
And and I've always been that proverbial nice guy. And my dad came to me one day and says, "You're never going to amount to anything because all you want is something from everybody." He says, "You're just being nice to everybody because you want something from them."
Hmm. Yeah, which was his assumption,
Yeah, but
right?
it's
That you
stuck.
were doing it in a manipulative way.
Right. And it's stuck in my head for years and years and years that whenever, to what you just said, whenever I was trying to be nice to somebody, I'm manipulating them for my own benefit.
Right.
And it wasn't it wasn't until, I don't know, 20 years later that I said, "Well, that's bullshit." You know,
Thank you.
it's just, but it's amazing the kinds of things that stick in here.
Yeah,
And when you make yourself aware of some of the things that are going on, you can fix it. You can change it.
absolutely.
But at the same time, when you go to a retreat or when you go work with someone like you, right? Having that help, having that coaching is one thing. Going to a retreat, and I've been to retreats and different retreats I've been to, I've walked out a different person, right? And I've certainly walked out with different perspectives.
For
And
sure.
because at your retreat, I'm sure that folks that are participating do breath work for an hour to an hour and a half. They
Yeah,
don't have a choice,
and if
right?
we do, I mean, they always a choice. I don't force
Yeah, but
anybody to do it, but
but
that's
they're going to want to do
they've
it.
right. They want to do it. They've gone there for a reason, which is they're at a place where their life where they realize their lives either aren't working, or it's not enough, or they need more, or they're lacking something. Like they really want to be in a relationship and they're not, and they're tired of being in this pattern of dating the same person just with a different face. That at some point, we got to get real and say there's one common denominator in every one of those arguments and every one of those relationships, and it's right here. Why do I keep attracting that kind of pattern, that kind of person? And I have a friend of mine who says it's funny, but there's truth to it, that it's really important to heal our relationship with our parents so that we can stop dating them. Because we keep
Ooh,
I know.
oh, weird. I just had this really weird feeling.
It
But
is. Like how many times have we seen that? We attract people and I mean, of course, it's not like incestuous stuff. Is it the
right,
same
right, right,
habits,
right.
the same way that we treat that we got treated by our parents? We attract partners that are going to treat us in that same way. And
That is
so
really interesting.
yeah, 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 yeah.
What did you say again? Say that one more time.
It's important to heal our relationship with our parents so that we can stop dating them. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and I see it all the time with clients. People who have controlling or abusive in some way, even psychologically, verbally, uh, partner is like, all it takes is one question. Tell me about your relationship with your parents, and it's in that case is usually the father, but it could be either way.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay. So tell us about your latest book, Conscious Love.
yeah. the book is, because I've realized after we're doing this work of retreats and coaching and personal transformation for over 30 years, I think going on 35 actually now, people who've done, who meditate, people who have done breath work, people who've done retreats or who go to therapy, the majority, and I would say by far the majority, still struggle in this area of relationships. So I started asking myself, why is that? Now, people who are otherwise like really successful professionally, who have a spiritual practice,
Hmm.
who are self-aware even, they still struggle with this. So that's what prompted my thinking about this. What is that? How come we get stuck in this area of life? And yeah, granted, of course, it's an area where we make ourselves most vulnerable, where we really allow ourselves to be seen. Um, Ideally, because if we're not doing that, then you're not having a real, deep relationship. If you're still
Hmm.
hiding yourself in it,
Right.
so there's patterns that are then triggered by that, right? Because we're so vulnerable, then we develop protective mechanisms
Right. Right.
against that. And it's like I see it all the time. I see it all the time. So I started thinking about how do we approach a relationship consciously? Because if I mean, and there's different levels of that I get into, but the most basic one is if we're approaching a relationship in search of happiness, in search of validation, because you are going to make me happy, forget it, hang it up. Not going to happen. Not going to work. There isn't anybody out there who's going to make us happy, and it's not their job to. So how unfair to put that responsibility, the weight of that, on a relationship or on another human being. It's like you are going to make me happy. Yikes! So that's a big responsibility. So those are not going to do well if that's how we're approaching it. So if we're approaching a relationship consciously, meaning that we know and we're fully aware and we take responsibility for our own happiness, then there's different levels of doing that. And these are teachings adapted from Ram Dass, the spiritual teacher, who's no longer with us. But he says level one is where, maybe the other partner doesn't want to play at this level, right? But there's enough about the relationship that works. Maybe you cohabitate well together, maybe you co-parent well together, you travel well together, sex is good. There's enough of it that says, okay, well, I'm gonna stay in this. I value this relationship. And then I'm going to reclaim all the time, the energy, the resources that I would otherwise be spending looking for the one, in quotes. I'm gonna focus that on my own personal growth and transformation, which I think ultimately it's what we're here for.
Hmm.
We'll come back to number two, skip number two for now. Level three, both beings already fully realized, fully aware of their higher nature, their God presence, whatever you want to call it, the higher soul, and they come from there. So the relationship becomes like a sacred dance in which the two beings are mirroring that for each other. I don't think we need to worry about that one yet. Go back to number two, which is the juicy one. That's where both beings are agreeing to use the relationship as a way, like the container of the relationship, as a way to speed up our own process of healing and transformation. Because I say, if you want to shine a light on the blind spot that you're never going to see in yourself, because it's there. If I look in that mirror in front of me, it's there. If I turn to the left to see that mirror, that goes the other way. So we're never going to see a blind spot. That's the definition of a blind spot.
Hmm.
Boy, can we see it in the other. So if we approach the relationship from that perspective, that's a pretty safe bet. If it's there, it's here. And the more that whatever they do gets my goat, the clearer the sign that I'm doing that in some way. The details are going to be different. The circumstances are going to be different. In many cases, it's in relationship to self. But it's a safe bet that we're doing that in some way too. Otherwise, it wouldn't bug us so much.
You know, um, there's a lot to unwind in what you just said,
Yeah.
but I think one of the real common denominators to what you just said is that you have it all. You already have it all. I tell people, I tell people all the time, I say, listen, happiness isn't out there. It's not out there. We're all told that we have to in search of happiness, right? In search of whatever. It's not out there. It's right
Yeah.
here, right?
All of it.
It's in
All the
it's
answers to all our questions
it's
are
it's
right
in
here.
us. one of my favorite songs of all time is the late great Whitney Houston's "Greatest Love of All." Learning to love
Yeah.
yourself, it is the greatest
Yeah.
love of all. What she doesn't say in that song is that the hardest love of all is learning to
It's
love
true.
yourself, right?
It's true.
It's the hardest, but everything happens. The world changes when you
Everything
realize
changes.
that, huh?
Everything changes. Everything changes.
And isn't that amazing? I mean, we're talking about you and I are in agreement that when things change within us, the whole world changes. The whole
Absolutely.
world changes. And yet we're all conditioned with the world that we live in right now that everything about our success in life is out there. We're flipping that on its head and we're saying
Yeah.
it ain't out there. It's right where you're
Yeah.
sitting.
Yeah. I mean, but how much more evidence do we need that no amount of out there is going to make us happy? Like, how many more examples do we need of celebrities, multi-gazillionaires who have all the money, all the power you could ever want, and they're miserable and they're thin skin, and one little tweet was sends them into a spin without mentioning any names.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is something. It is something because you think about these celebrities who amazing, incredible people who over medicated and died,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Suicides
whether it
and
be
overdoses.
Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Prince, Robin Williams, all these people,
Yeah.
and you just these are people who had everything, and
Janis
you're just
Joplin and the guy from Nirvana, on and on and on and
on
on.
and on and on and on. And
Freddie Mercury.
another thing I often say, it's all about love. It's all
It
about love.
is.
It's
It
all about
is.
love.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah,
But but not in a new agey woo woo sort of way. Like love is the most radical force and powerful force in the universe. Not a hallmarky
right,
milk toast kind of
right,
love. Like
right.
conscious love.
And yet, when we think of the word love, we think woo woo.
Yeah.
We don't think when we think of the word love, we don't think about what you just said about being the most powerful force.
Yeah. And here's a great definition of it. And this definition of love, and it's from Scott Peck in The Road Less Traveled. Um, and he defines love as when we place ourselves outside of our comfort zone. So, in other words, we put ourselves in some degree of discomfort or some degree of emotional risk for the sake of the spiritual growth of another human being. Like, wow, what a profound way of looking at love. So to start with, it's an act, it's not a feeling, right? Because we can't go by the feeling. Because think about disciplining a child. Like, you can't have more sugar. You like pull the child who's about to run into a busy street. That doesn't feel good. But it's an act of love. It's for their own good.
Right, right.
It's in service to them, but it's a love. It doesn't always feel good. So we can't go by the highs and the lows. And so he defines that as an act. And it's when we place ourselves beyond our comfort zone for the sake of someone else.
In service to others.
In service to others. Goes right back to where you started.
In service to others.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You know, the really cool thing about having conversations like this is we give folks hope, right?
There's
I mean,
definitely
if you're
hope.
if you're feeling the self-doubt right now, if you're feeling that you're not worthy of being loved, right? Christian and I are telling you the exact opposite. Snap out of it.
Yeah. Let's be even more direct. We're calling bullshit on that. It's just bullshit. It's not even true. It's not true.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So,
and here's the way that I think helps people get there. Like, wouldn't you say, anybody who's still, navigating this, wouldn't you say that just by virtue of being human, anyone of the 8 billion humans on this planet deserves to be loved, deserves to be happy, deserves to have a life filled with meaning and purpose, right? And everybody says yes to that. So, what makes us so special? We're the only ones in 8 billion who don't deserve it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up.
Yeah. That's called flipping it on its head.
Yeah.
And but that's a really great way to look at it. That's a really great
Yeah.
way to look at it. What makes you feel like what is it that makes you so special?
It's
That
arrogance. It's actually arrogance. How dare you? How dare you?
Oh.
How dare you not respect yourself? How dare you believe that you're not worthy?
Oh, how
Like,
cool is that?
yeah,
There's a smack in the face for you.
that's a smack in the face. It's a wake up call.
Yeah. Well, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I would love to we can go on talking about this stuff
Yeah,
forever, Christian. I would
yeah,
love
we
to have
could.
you back sometime
I would love that.
if
Yeah,
you'd be
you
up
and
for
I are
some
not going to
time.
run out of stuff to talk about.
Right? Right? And
Yeah,
you know, and the really cool thing about this is basic stuff. We just life just in the world that we live in just excuse my French, but fucks it up.
thank you,
Right?
thank you.
I think that's the first time I've ever used the F-bomb on my entire
I
podcast.
I love the F bomb.
But huh?
Used judiciously, not abused.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
it's really powerful. It's a very powerful word.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's really amazing. Folks, the name of his book is called Conscious Love, and the subtitle is Transforming Our Relationship to Relationships. I take it they can find it on Amazon, right,
It is
Christian?
on Amazon. They can order it at their local bookstore if they choose to support that, but easy to order on Amazon.
And check it out. Check it out. I'm going to. I'm for sure
Thank
going
you.
to. And and for folks who want to learn more about you or get in touch with you, what do you want them to do?
I think the best way to reach me is my website, which is soulfulpower.com. So SOULFULPOWER.com. And from there, they can email me or they can access my social media.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Folks, check it out. Check it out. Christian, you're amazing.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for joining me. I love you. God bless you.
I
Thank you for
love
all that
you.
you're
Thank you,
doing.
John. I look forward to staying connected.
Yeah, totally. And folks out there, we talked about a lot of things. Go back, rewind this, rewind it, whatever. Go back and re-review it. I just aged myself again. But yeah, check it out. Huh?
But it's true. I
Yeah.
think the word. I think it still works to rewind, even though it's not technically rewinding.
Yeah, the rewind button. Yeah. And folks, share this with other people you love, right? People who are feeling that self-doubt, feeling like they're not deserving. Share this with them and give them hope. Okay? And with that, all of you out there, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.